So we just got a couple of questions that have been transferred to us. We'll start with the Q&A right now. So I'm going to go with the questions that are currently written in the chat that have been transferred to me. But if someone wants to speak with us directly and ask question on the stream, don't be shy. You can just request to speak on the Discord chat, the Discord stage, sorry, and we'll be able to hear you there and talk with you directly. So first question we got, I don't have the names of people, so I'll just go with this specifically. How forgiving is the shape recognition in this game? Like, how tolerant does the game calculate a circle versus a square?
I think I can go for this one.
The best one for this one. Yeah.
This is one of the first things we've worked when we started working on Worship, because we knew it was really important for the player experience. Like, the system needed to be tolerant enough to understand shapes that aren't like really good, and it needed good enough to distinguish shape between each other. So we're still actively working on it, and we've worked a lot on it in the past year, but right now it's pretty good. I'd say there's still improvement that we want to do on it, but it can recognize shapes that aren't particularly well drawn, as long as it looks like the category of shape it needs to be. And it's pretty good at distinguishing shapes between each other, so like a square from a circle, or any more. We've tried with more complicated or similar things, like a between a triangle and a triforce and stuff like that, and it worked pretty well, but there's still improvement to do. And one of the biggest improvement we are actively working on for shape recognition is giving you more feedback before you activate a spell. So for the backer alpha, expect to see which shape the system recognize that you want to activate before you activate it, so you'll know if it's a square, if it's a good one, if it's a bad one, if it's a valid shape or not. So you'll spend less time activating and messing up a ritual, and you'll have like more information directly regarding that.
Yeah. And there's pretty like specific things we can do with the ritual mechanic right now. Like, we could put a square into a square into a square, and it's able to detect that there's 3 different shapes, and you can activate one after the other to do powerful attacks with that. So there's flexibility that we wanted to achieve with this that are really interesting.
Next question
is there controller support? Yes, there is.
Yes.
Consoles are part of our plans in general. We haven't announced which consoles yet, but consoles are part of it. And to make sure that we are ready for this, having controller support is part of it. And it will be available on Steam also, and it will be available for the Kickstarter alpha also. Yeah. There's even a debate inside the team on, well, actually, it's Felix against the others, of is Worship better to be played in keyboard and mouse or with a controller? It really depends on who you talk with. But
so the game is actively playable with a controller right now. It's just there's a couple of improvements we want to work on for it to feel as good as the mouse and keyboard. Like you said, I'm a little bit biased, but both are super good way to play the game, and expect to be able to play with a controller for the backer alpha.
Yeah. There's another one. How long have you been working on this game? We officially started working on the pre-conception phase of Worship, I believe, in November 2020. Is that right?
Yeah, it's been 3 years-ish, if we count like preparing the Kickstarter and everything.
Yeah, we announced the game with Kickstarter in March 2021, and we've been preparing the Kickstarter in November 2020, I believe.
Yeah, one thing that matters for this question, I think, is the team changed a lot since then. Like, the team was smaller, coming out of struggling, and of course, with the Kickstarter success and everything, we started hiring to have a team that was able to ship Worship as we envisioned. So yeah, the amount of people that worked on it changed along the development, but it's been that long since
we were fortunate enough to have the opportunities to scale up the team and the resources to scale up the team to make the game with the vision that we had for it initially. So this goes with taking more time to make it, but also finding the right team and building tools that we needed to make a sustainable game. We now have 13 people working on Worship right now, and each of one of them is extremely talented. So we would not be ready to showcase things to you if it was not for this amazing team. So I think we go like this is good. All right, another question. This is done. Do neutral followers, the godless, ever respawn, or do you have to explore further to get more? I'll let you get more into this specifically, but basically followers are our resource that we are looking at right now on how we want to manage getting more followers or losing your followers actually, and how do we want to address this specifically. There's multiple iteration that we're currently working on. At the moment, you would need to go to the next exploration phase to get more followers if you lose them all in one specific during a combat or during a boss fight.
This is actually something we have noted for the things we want to improve in the game. So the godless do not respawn at the moment, but we're looking at ways to make you able to potentially resurrect some of your followers, so that if you lose a couple in a fight, you can still resurrect a couple and fight back. So this is something that should be in for the backer alpha, so a way for you to feel less vulnerable when you lose a lot of followers at once. Of course, there'll be drawback to this. The way blood work and regenerate will change a lot in the following weeks, but all of that should make the experience feel better for the player and less soul destroying when you lose like 20 followers at once.
Right now it's pretty ravaging.
I think there's someone that wanted to speak. Should we go to that first, or
Savvy wanted to speak?
I click this? No? Okay.
We don't do anything.
All
we
right.
look at people at the technical side of things and we wait.
While waiting for this, we can, I guess, go into the next one.
So I back Kickstarter on a level that I don't get the beta access. Is it possible for me to upgrade the level to get access to the beta? You will be able to do so. We will need to do the Kickstarter survey before going into the alpha, so people have access to pledge more yet. So, right? I
think it's still unsure. We'll see how this go, but I think we don't have necessarily an answer ready for this specific question right now. But if it's possible for us to do something like that, and for it to feel fair for everybody, we'll look at ways to potentially open up the possibility. We'll see.
Do we have the right permissions to let people speak? Is that the problem that we have right now? I saw it didn't come true.
I think we have another question, which
we'll
is
go with this one.
Debug menu in alpha.
No. If we feel like the alpha needs a debug menu to be fun, we failed. It's not in the plan to give it during the alpha.
If we do our job right, you shouldn't ever see this menu ever again. Whoops.
All right. Is there any more question? Yeah. Will there be accessibility features regarding the drawing aspect? There's, at the moment, it has not been designed. It's a question that we've been talking a lot about, because when we are doing playtests with people from other friendly studios, or just say when we went to South by Southwest in Sydney, we realized that one of the main things that people had trouble with was getting to draw not utterly garbage shapes. So making sure that it is a little bit more intuitive to do would be a nice feature. And there's multiple things like having decals on the ground that could help you do stuff, or keyboard and mouse, a different approach to control on keyboard and mouse that we that would look similar to a real-time strategy game in terms of like clicking and having your character going specifically on a specific point, is something that we're looking at, but we're not committing to do right now because it implies a lot of things. So it's unsure at the moment, but it's something that we're looking at.
Yeah, of course, accessibility is super important. It's just something that will probably look a little bit closer to launch than to earlier stuff like backer alpha and beta.
Yeah.
And
it won't be in the alpha, that's for sure. Okay, and should our followers be stolen by the priest? Can we convert them back after the 5 if they survive? It's actually one of the main feedback we got from the playtest is people wanting to convert the fanatics into followers of our cult. So it's something that's, I think it's planned for the alpha.
Yeah.
Is it?
So currently the way you see it, the mass conversion of the bishop was a bit finicky. There's improvement we want to do, like you saw the follower being killed and like a church fanatic emerging from their corpse. That's not exactly how we want it to work. They should be replaced, and once they are fanatics, you can use the conversion ritual to turn them back into follower. And that's something we want to apply to fanatics in general. So if you encounter fanatics into the wild and you manage to not kill them and cast the conversion ritual into them, they will turn into followers of your cult. So as of now, this is planned in the next couple of weeks. So you should see this for the backer alpha.
Yeah. So Cheddar asked, will bosses work more like Pikmin bosses, like sending your followers to deplete the health bar, or more like puzzle bosses, go push buttons and on floors and bosses lose points? I think it's going to be a mix of both, depending on the test of fate specifically. We have the different type of, like, we already have puzzle-like encounters in our modules, in our flexible content, so having the same kind of approach but in a more intense setting, like in a boss encounter, is something that's totally doable for us.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to go and spoil like how the boss work, but there's I think a bit of both, in the sense that there's the challenging aspect of combat of reading telegraphed attack, recalling and dodging with your follower at the proper time, and basically just managing the fight. But there's also a little bit of the puzzle aspect, like gimmicks that you can understand by watching all of the aspects of the fight, and basically giving you an advantage if you play your cards correctly, I'll say. I can't say really more without spoiling the actual fight, but I think we can go both ways, and some boss may lean more towards one side than the other. I think the game is we have a lot of possibility to go into both, so yeah. Now I don't see the question anymore.
Plan.
Is mod support planned? This is actually a question that we've asked ourselves really early in development, and it's quite hard to answer because the amount of work it requires is I don't know how to say it, but it's not super obvious. So it's a little bit unknown. We really we would like for it to be, but to have mod support, but we can't promise anything. And if we do, it'll probably be more towards the 1.0 launch rather than the early access launch. But if the early access launch goes well and the game does well, mod support is a great way to let the community create content. So we'll, if we can, we'll go towards that for sure.
I'm looking to for the permissions. It seems like normally everyone could ask for to request to speak, so I'm just going to check on the channel specifically, but it should work normally. Okay, so you need it. Normally, it's just that you request for it, and then you that. What's going on?
I read another question and I forgot it right away.
Well, you can write it here.
There was another one, but is there a problem to...
Okay, here. Okay. How would you describe Unspeakable Horrors from a gameplay perspective? Are there bosses in the sense that that Don't Starve has bosses? Do you have to encounter them purposefully, or did they just stumble up about? Obviously, it's not too early for them to increase. It's too early for them to be increasingly relevant, but I find myself with no way to describe these little beasties to my friends and family. I appreciate that you talk about the Unspeakable Horrors to your friends and family, by the way.
That's a good question. Right now, we kind of on purpose didn't go into this faction first. We started with more of church enemies and untamed ones. But because the way we see it is Unspeakable Horror, the further you are in your run, the deeper you are in the exploration phase, the more you'll see them, because the more you earn devotion towards your god and the more your cult grows, the thinner the barrier between worlds are, so the more likely you are to see Unspeakable Horror. That said, what does that mean for gameplay? I think they'll be in general stronger enemy than the rest, so they won't be like the equivalent of Test of Fate bosses. But you can see that in the boss we teased, there's definitely some Unspeakable Horror aspect in there. And yeah, in general, they'll be stronger enemy, they'll be scarier to encounter, and they'll require like proper preparation, but we might also design some weaker ones. It's something we will know more when we'll have developed some of them.
So Wheat is asking, are we going to get to build normal buildings too? By normal buildings, I assume that you mean non-Eldritch/catalytic buildings. We mentioned briefly utility buildings, so we will have more on that in the future, but you want to get into it, or are we?
Yeah, there's basically the two types of buildings. There's the one that you saw, which we called upgrade buildings, which are basically a visual representation of you getting stronger and building monument to your god in your camp base and unlocking stuff. There'll be also the utility buildings. It's still something we have to work on, so I don't want to talk too much about them, but they'll, as their name suggests, have some kind of utility tied to them and potentially interactions with them. But it's not... I think there's the following question is, are there any defensive building follower that can protect your base? This is a direction that we decided not to go too much into, because there were already a lot of things to learn, a lot of mechanics in the game, a lot of things you can do, and
this was a rabbit hole. Like there's enough technical complexity and enough stuff to learn in Worship specifically that we decided that having enemies attacking your base is maybe not the direction we wanted to go. Your base, your cult base, and your altar is your safe space.
Yeah. So your cult base is more of a safe haven where you can go a couple of times to replenish or give relic to your god or bank catalyst to get new powers. But there won't be any like base defense aspect to it. And or is that where the co-op aspect comes into play? The co-op aspect come into play in a lot of our mechanics, be it drawing, drawing to cast ritual, follower management, in combat in general, or in exploration, the ability to split, to explore the map either together or to split the tasks. Or in combat, the ability to help your friend draw some shape, or to recall their follower when they are occupied doing something else to save their lives. It gives a lot of, more options, because you can do something while your friend do something else.
There's decision making that you can do and kind of optimize how you do stuff. And there's still that kind of risk reward decision that you're saying to yourself, are we going to be more efficient by splitting ways, or are we all going together doing the same encounters together? There's a bunch of stuff that we kind of there's also chaotic fun of just playing in multiplayer. Like, we know that we've, from the playtest and from our perspective also, it's something that as Chasing Rats we want to continue making great multiplayer games. There's so much laughs and chaos that comes from having a drawing mechanic with a bunch of friends, or just handling those dispensable followers together. We feel like there's added value to this. So the co-op aspect goes with using all of those gameplay mechanics that Remy mentioned, but also just having to mess around with friends. So Bill is asking, I'm curious how unlocks are going to work out in a run-to-run basis. Like, will it be more like Isaac, where I unlock something and it has a chance to show up in the future run, or will it be also unlocks that gives the player a head start in some aspect, having stronger rituals unlock or anything in the start of a run? We decided to go with the Isaac way, so having unlocks, so having more stuff that's going to unlock the more and more you play, but you as much chance to complete a run. It's really based on your knowledge of the game and the skills that you have to be able to complete a run. It was one of the design philosophy we decided to go with.
Yeah, so more stuff that can appear in your run, eventually more gods that you could unlock.
Mm-hmm.
There's this design philosophy that we've talked about in during the Kickstarter. We called those Eldritch prophecies, which would be objectives that challenges that are conveyed to you in the between runs. That you can consult and decide to try to achieve, and when you do, you unlock some more stuff for your run. So it won't be like things that makes you stronger for your next run, but it'll be content that couldn't appear before that now could be presented in your run, god choices and things like that.
Yeah. You also asked, will difficulty play a role in unlocking specific things? Like, will I have to play on the harder difficulties to unlock specific things, or can I unlock everything other than, say, something cosmetics, like from playing on easy or normal? In terms of difficulty, it is a Kickstarter goal to have the Sacrificial Lamb difficulty, but we're not exactly sure we don't think we're going to have more than one difficulty. And I don't think we have a specific stance on that right now.
It's not something that we've put a lot of energy right now. We may have more information on that closer to the early access launch, or even closer to the 1.0 launch. It's definitely something we'll look into and see which direction we'll take. But the challenge management and difficulty and how it shape out depending on the amount of player and everything is still something we have to work on.
All right. It's near 5:10 here. We'll take maybe 3 more questions, and then maybe 4, and then we'll close it up for tonight. The Kickstarter mentioned a backer area. Any idea what stage of the dev that can be put together, alpha, beta, EA, or full launch? The Kickstarter mentioned a backer area? What do you mean by backer area?
I'm not sure. Backer landmark. This everything related to the everything related to the Kickstarter reward will give you more information after the early access. It will be between the early access launch and the full launch. But for the backer monument, the way we saw it, it
similar
will be,
to the blood creature.
It'll be something that can sometimes spawn in your run that you can see, that you can interact with and see the names of all of the Kickstarter backer. So something that will sometimes spawn in the game world that you'll be able to interact with and see these names.
Exactly. I'm surprised about that question, since it's written in the orders, but Worship will release in early access in 2024 and on consoles for full release in 2025. So the question, who's the male voice in Price of Progress? For people that don't know about it, it's one of the songs in Worship. You can listen to it on YouTube, Spotify, and any streaming platforms in general. And it's Leandre, actually, the one who sings in Price of Progress, who's the music composer on Worship. Is there a worship dating sim? We will not comment on this.
This is a very important question, and we won't give the very important answer, but I think you know.
All right, so maybe one last question. It can be a silly one, I don't care. And then we will close it up.
Is there something the person that requested to speak asked their question?
I think it was Savvy, and
Okay.
it was already there, yeah.
Fair enough.
I'll let you this one.
Yeah, I think when we're at An-Ansgaidh taste like question, that's our cue.
So An-Ansgaidh hands taste like black licorice, and that's all. All right, so I think that's going to sum him up. Before we leave, we're going to, most of you, I assume, already listened to it, but we're going to roll the two Save and Sound musicals and covers because it's awesome and you should listen to it more. So
just before, for those who missed part of the live stream, we will try to make the whole thing available. We'll put this in our next Kickstarter update, and we'll probably share the link everywhere that makes sense that we do. So yeah,
I think on YouTube the VOD should be up as soon as we close it normally, if everything goes well, and we will share the VOD on the Kickstarter update that's going up tomorrow for November. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you for staying with us even if we had a few technical issues. We hope you liked it, and it was definitely fun to showcase more stuff to you guys. We hope to have feedback from you on Discord, Kickstarter, and on various channels to see if it's worth doing more of those in the future. And thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for your patience. We're waiting for us to deliver the game that we promised. We hope you'll still be merciful, and we'll try to deliver everything that we promised.
We're doing the best game as possible. So